Hello and welcome to The Insider. I'm Lisa Adams. For the next few weeks on every Insider program, we'll be talking about the coronavirus, COVID-19, and how it's impacting all of our guests in every arena of life. But as always, we'll also be keeping you informed on many things going on in our community for the time that we get beyond this pandemic crisis and the changes that it's bringing to our lives right now. Our focus today is on Gannon University. And my guest today is Gannon University President Dr. Keith Taylor. We're sitting a little farther apart than usual on our program. But let's begin with coronavirus, what it's meant for higher education. Tell us a little bit about your thought processes, what you thought for Gannon University initially, and how that evolved.
Well, certainly higher education has been in an interesting environment even before all this started, but we really started almost 4 weeks ago in putting together a cross-functional team to begin looking at what the issues may be as we were heading into our spring break. So we had a team going about a month ago. I was actually out in Arizona with a group of students on an alternative break service trip as the first concerns around our students that were in Italy came up. So we brought our students back, had them not come back to campus but go back to their own homes to be quarantined. And that was our first step in really looking at what are the critical issues. And the starting place is making sure our students and our employees are healthy and in a safe environment and trying to do the best we could to continue the educational experience that the students came for. So really it was health and safety and continuity of services were our primary concerns, and early on we were in an environment that didn't have any indication of the virus here. We felt it was the safest place would be for us all to stay in a place that was healthy. So we made sure that we were doubling down on hygiene and cleaning of surfaces, really started to restrict all non-essential travel to make sure that people weren't going off and bringing it back, and really started planning for an alternative delivery mode.
But certainly we know the process is evolving day by day. And I really should say that we tape this program on Wednesdays. It airs on the weekend, so things we say here today may be updated by the weekend. But as always, stay tuned to Erie News Now or go to Erie News Now online for the very latest information. But so this evolved at Gannon to the idea of students being not on campus and teaching, faculty teaching remotely. So you haven't started that remote teaching yet, but how will you execute that?
Yeah, so it's really been so far, as you said, minute to minute, 3 major phases. The first one I explained. The second one was to decide that we're moving to what we're referring to as an alternative delivery mode. So it may not all be online, but moving the students off campus and moving the faculty into a different approach to delivery. That happened early this week, end of last week, early this week. We have about 1,400 students that normally live on campus. More than 1,000 of them have already left. And we started the process of helping the faculty and the staff work on the transition for how do we still continue the educational experience while they're away. So we have a very robust online learning environment through Blackboard and through other software opportunities. But some faculty, depending upon the size of the class and how they're delivering it, they might use Zoom meetings, they might use Skype, they might use telephone calls and work through email. There's plenty of ways to make sure that the students are learning.
And so that might also depend on whether it's a lecture format class or an interactive type of class. So that starts on Monday, and that will go until the end of the school year?
Correct.
So athletic events, let's talk a little bit about that. Obviously that is off now as well, and certainly we're seeing in major league sports a lot of illness cropping up, probably just because there's so much contact and travel. Concerns about your athletes?
Yeah, well, the seniors and the athletes, particularly senior athletes, are the ones that, your heart really goes out to them. It's their final semester, it's their final year of opportunity. Our women's basketball team had just won the PSAC tournament. We were going to host the first round of the NCAA. We had wrestlers at the tournament. We had swimmers at the tournament. So it's tough for them. But the NCAA has shut down all athletics for the rest of the year. All practices, everything is shut down. So pretty much NCAA sports and all of our club sports, all of our activities are done.
You have a lot of students in the health fields, and I assume many of them in practicums and internships out in the field. What are you telling them? Are they continuing their internships? Is that on a case-by-case basis?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we probably a third of our students are in some form of health professions or health-related fields, and we're educating them to be able to work in this environment. So, I mean, this really is a great opportunity, a little scary opportunity, but great opportunity for our students to get the kind of real life experience that they're going to need to be able to manage as leaders in the healthcare industry going forward. So our students are still out doing their clinicals wherever the sites will allow them to. So some sites have decided that they've already gone to non-essential employees staying home or working off-site. So some of our students are having those challenges, but we're really encouraging the students to continue to do what they're being asked to do, work within the policies of the institutions that they're working at, and they're doing a phenomenal job and really bolstering a lot of the needed services right now.
Now, you haven't, I don't think, completely shut the campus down. So staff working remotely, how's that going?
Yeah, so phase 3. So yesterday we just announced that that would be the last day of business as usual, if you want to use that phrase, which we can't. So there are 4 buildings that are currently open, which are the essential buildings where the students that have stayed on campus, because some of them have not been able to go home. So we're still supporting all of our students, whether they're here or elsewhere. So we have 4 buildings that are still open. We have only essential personnel showing up for work as of last night. So the work continues, it just continues from a different place. So our phones are still working, our emails and other things are working. So if anybody needs something from the university, contact who you would have originally contacted and we will be right back to you.
So we're going long on this first section, but I just have to ask, I'm sure you're in the process of enrolling students for next year. So what happens, like when the SAT is delayed, for example, how's your process going to work for filling your class for the coming year?
You know, we're still doing very well. Our deposits are where we want them to be. We're still moving forward with enrolling students. And we always have a flexible enrollment process. So, you know, whether the student would have rolled in March and they're going to roll in April, that's all fine. You know, so we don't see process-wise there being any delays. There's certainly no delays on our end, and we haven't seen any delays, whether it be from SATs or others. And we work with students looking at their high school performance as well as other indicators.
That's just one component of what you're looking at. And probably people taking SATs or maybe juniors that are going to start the search next year.
Exactly.
Well, when we come back, we'll shift a little bit. There are big things in the works for Gannon University beyond COVID-19, and we'll talk about that when we come back. Stay with us. Welcome back to The Insider. I'm Lisa Adams, and again, my guest today is Gannon University President Dr. Keith Taylor. So let's talk now about the IHAC developments and the big announcement that you made recently about some important partnerships. I was there that day, pretty exciting stuff. And how will this benefit both your students as well as certifications for professionals?
Well, IHAC is moving along. The building itself is moving along. The first 2 floors, which will really be the Pierre McCormick Cyber Learning Center, is well on its way of construction. Our alumni, like Pierre, have really stepped forward in supporting this project. The next floor up is the hatchery, and that hatchery is where you see the extreme networking partnership. So we have great industry relationships that are being built that are really going to be opportunities for our students to be certified in industry specific needs, so that not only will they get the education, they'll get it as part of the curriculum. They won't pay extra or stay extra to get that, and they're going to go out into the workforce already having those essential tools in hand. So it's an exciting time.
Talk about the move into this direction for Gannon University, how timely this is, and if people don't know what IHAC is, I mean, just broadly explain to them how this is an important field to see growth right now.
Well, cybersecurity, cyber engineering are booming fields. The expectation is in the next couple of years there'll be 3.5 million jobs or empty jobs waiting for people with these types of skills to come out. So the Institute for Health and Cyber Knowledge is the facility, but the programming within it is really around cybersecurity and cyber engineering. We have been a stalwart health professions strength for years, and I think when we get to talk maybe about what's going on in Ruskin and on the Erie campus, we talked a little bit about educating leaders in healthcare. We've had strong engineering programs for many decades. This is really the next step of what not only Gannon engineering and technical programs look like, but it's really where the all industry is going. Cyber hacking, cybersecurity is a huge need in the community, and we're really excited about filling that need.
Well, certainly you're talking about data management in the health fields as well as protecting people's information. I mean, just looking at the COVID situation right now, we're all hungry for data every single day and trying to synthesize that data.
Right, and within this facility, we have a GIS mapping center that will be in there. There will be a data center within this facility. So it's really blending industry and academics together. The enrollments, we enrolled our first class this year, and we far exceeded what we expected in that first group of students. And we're really seeing a very strong enrollment for next year in these programs. But it's a combination of the building the infrastructure from a cyber engineering perspective, in securing that data and being able to monitor that data through cybersecurity, and then looking at the Internet of Things and how do we both build and monitor and secure through whether that's sensors or other technical infrastructure. We have the capability across our computing, our engineering, our criminal justice, our psychology, our business majors, to really build a full package.
And this also gives the students who are enrolling some hands-on real-world experience in a facility like IHAC, so they're not just doing book learning here.
Yeah, and that building was just made for this. So it was a facility that had a strong infrastructure initially. It allows us to have multiple backup systems within it. So construction's coming along. We're really excited about opening in August of this year. So the first 2 floors will be open August of this year. The hatchery will be open in first quarter of 2021, and the rest of the building is intended to be built out the rest of 21.
And last thing on this topic, you have had these IHAC competitions where students, you're really finding the cream of the crop in students that already have kind of an aptitude for this?
Yeah, the amazing thing is the students that are in high school, students everywhere from freshmen to seniors that are coming to these hackathons. They are exceedingly talented young men and women. So we're really excited about not only bringing the students on, but the caliber of students that are getting involved in these programs is truly phenomenal.
Well, speaking of new buildings, you had an interesting situation develop with a gas leak beneath the Gannon University Chapel. We'll talk about mitigating that and redesigning the chapel space when we come back. Stay with us. Well, welcome back again to The Insider. I'm Lisa Adams, and my guest is Gannon University President Dr. Keith Taylor. We're doing every one of our Insiders now with a little bit of a COVID-19 twist to the program, because that's really what's on everyone's mind. So let's talk a little bit about the Gannon University Chapel. As you know, my childhood church, an iconic building really in downtown Erie alongside the Erie Club. You had a potentially scary situation there with a natural gas leak that forced you to actually send a rig inside of that building to fix it. So talk about how you learned that, what you decided to do, and how that's going.
Yeah, we seem to be having plenty of opportunity to deal with unexpected things in the last 12 months. So there was a gas leak that needed to be managed. It wasn't anything that was really a health crisis by any means, but it drove us to move forward quickly on plans that we already had in place. So we took down 2 buildings that were in our master plan to come down, and we looked at the chapel and said, we can preserve this and we can fix that gas well, which of course the plug required that we pull a rig inside the chapel, and right underneath the altar is where that hole needed to be dug. So we're really excited to be able to transform this building, bring it to a whole new level of beauty. And really, Gannett is a Catholic university, and the chapel is the heart of our institution, and our Catholic identity is really the centering place where all the other things that we do come from. And so we talk about trying to serve our students in a crisis around a virus and how it's influencing, educating health professionals. All of those things really start with a Catholic identity and start with a place where we can look for our well-being towards our spirituality and ensure that we're making sure that the center of our being is also being supported, and those of all those that are in our community.
We do have a rendering of kind of what it's going to look like. So where is the process of working on the inside of the Mary Seat of Wisdom Chapel now? This is what it will look like when it's finished, and how is that different from how it was before?
Yeah, so the exterior of the building was put back together before winter time came, and as you can see, the chapel itself will continue to serve as the main chapel with new pews and a whole new look on the inside of that, but it will be the chapel kind of in its basic configuration the same. There used to be a small chapel on the west side of the building, which will now be a fellowship gathering space. And the smaller portion of the building that was retained on the side actually has bathrooms and a kitchen. And so the west side of that building now will be a gathering space, kitchen, place for community not only after Mass and after services, but a community space for all the students or community to gather one way or the other. The land.
We can see those those beautiful stained glass windows. When I went to church there, they were just kind of frosted glass, and works of art were really installed there by Gannett University that are gorgeous. So those weren't impacted at all in the work.
No, those were contributed years ago. The essential pieces that make its history important are being retained. And outside of that, the two buildings that came down will really provide a gathering space and some green space downtown that doesn't currently exist. So that will be available not only for our students, but others at EDDC and those around us are working on projects. It'll be an activation space for the community.
You touch on the resources that a faith-based institution has to provide a sense of calm and perspective during this time. I mean, how important is that? And is that something that you're doubling down on, or in your messages that you send out to the students that aren't on campus anymore, that you remind them about to not be fearful?
You know, just yesterday sent out yet another message. We've been using not only emails, but I've been trying to work through video to try and help people understand that we're still humans, and we're still here, and we're still talking to you. And we've been trying to make sure that the importance of these issues are out there, and the seriousness of the issues are out there, but we don't need to go through this frenetically. I mean, we can be calm. We have been taking measured approach to our decision making around policy and procedures. We've been taking a very intentional approach in communicating. My message yesterday that went out included a prayer that I received from one of our faculty. A faculty member sent me a prayer concerned for my well-being, which I then shared back out to the community. Our alumni have been incredible, not only giving financially back, but giving back in so many ways to the community.
All right, we don't have a lot of time, but let's just touch quickly on the former Regional Center for Workforce Excellence at 8th and Sassafras. It's another building that you purchased, potential for new living spaces for students. Is that going to be something we see soon?
Yep. So the parking ramp is already on its way towards being constructed or renovated. That will be done by August of this year. So when students come back, we assume, they will have new spaces there. The building itself is going into design immediately with the hope for construction on that starting this summer and moving that into about 100 beds apartments for our students. And that the intention is to have that open by fall of 2021. So we haven't stopped functioning on campus. We're still moving forward with all of our projects, including that one.
And your goal, is it to have more students on campus and not in apartment living around town? What's your best percentage of students living on?
You know, yes, the intention is to have more students living on campus because our intention is to have more students. So it's not necessarily a percentage and to pull them out of the community as much as we've been growing. We've had our 2 largest classes since the 1980s, the last 2 years. So we are growing as an institution at an undergraduate level, at a graduate level. We're moving in the right direction, and we need to serve those students.
All right, you said graduate level, and that's my cue to say we're going to talk about growth at the Ruskin, Florida campus when we come back. Stay with us. So if people don't know, Gannon University has a campus in, a Ruskin campus in Florida, and I'm assuming that's closed as well, but the focus here is also on medical careers. What are the plans for the future down there?
You know, that campus is booming. We just had our launch, our grand opening of our second building, so we have 100,000 square feet down there now. Brand new building, over 80,000 square feet. First floor is built out. We still have 2 floors to grow into. We have about 240 students there now. The expectation is in the next year we will have about 500 students down there. And they are all graduate health professional programs. So we have an occupational therapy doctorate, a physical therapy doctorate. We have an athletic training master's. We just launched our physician assistant master's program down there. We are launching speech and language pathology master's program down there this coming fall. We're moving forward with a master's in public health appropriately these days, and we're looking at some nursing programs and other opportunities down there. So the focus is on graduate education, graduate health professional education. Florida has a massive need for those providers. That population is growing both at the younger population that might be the students, as well as the older population that needs that service.
We know we don't have cases as we speak of coronavirus here in Erie County, but Florida has seen cases start to bloom here. Any more concerns for your Ruskin campus community than up here?
You know, not really. They're all graduate students that are living in their own apartments anyway. You know, so these are health professionals essentially that were coming to our campus, or they're going out into the clinical settings. So we don't have residence halls there, and it's a smaller scale. So we have great staff, great faculty in Ruskin that are really managing the calm and managing the approach there, and the ability to deliver education to really highly motivated graduate students is terrific.
We have just a minute left, so your final words of wisdom, I guess, for your student body and maybe for parents who are in the college choice process with their kids right now. Anything to help them keep perspective? You
know, Gannon's purpose is to transform lives. So our goal for them is to grow and develop as socially responsible global citizens. That's what our goal is. What better time and what better message about social responsibility, doing the right thing, taking care of yourself, taking care of your family, taking care of your community, and this is a global crisis. So this is about global health, and I think our push to try and ensure that we educate globally responsible or socially responsible global citizens is perfectly in line with what the world needs right now.
Well, thank you so much for being here at this time. Hopefully the next time we talk we'll be past this situation, but we do certainly appreciate your perspective. As always, thank you for joining us. If you have an idea for us to explore, just email me at ladams@wicu12.com and join us again next time for The Insider.